All right, welcome to This Oughta Be Good, episode 3. We got DJ Mentos in the house. What's up, Mentos? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for being guest number 3. I appreciate it. So want to go ahead and get into first question. Where were you born, raised, and have lived? I think I know the answers because I did watch some of your recent interviews, and I want to say between DC and Baltimore,
Yeah,
born and
exactly.
raised.
Exactly. Yeah, Columbia, Maryland. That is where I was born and raised.
Okay, and
And
then you lived in New York for a bit and Richmond now, but is there anywhere else?
yeah, I grew up in Maryland and then went to college here at Randolph Macon,
Okay.
and that's where I met my wife. And then we moved to New York and lived in Manhattan and Westchester, and then moved back to Richmond.
Okay. What brought you to New York?
At that time, we were like really just wanted to have some new experiences and do something different. We were living in the fan and like having fun in Richmond and stuff, but both of us thought we could do more with our careers and just like have like a cool experience in New York. So we just back then it was a lot different environment. Like we just got jobs and got an apartment and made it happen.
Mhm.
But
Did you
yeah, so that was great. And then we had my first child in Manhattan, my daughter, and then eventually moved out to Westchester where we had our second kid. And then we were out there for like 7 years. And then my wife got a job here at Capital One, so my family relocated back down to Richmond.
Mm, that's funny. So who were some of the first hip hop artists you discovered that had like a big impact on you?
Well, like real early on for me, I guess would have been like Run DMC and the Beastie Boys. Like that was sort of the entryway into hip hop.
Mhm.
Um, and then I grew up through like middle school and high school, just like totally obsessed with hip hop, like Tribe, Public Enemy, De La Soul, like all the classic golden era hip hop, Big
Mhm.
Daddy Kane, BDP, Rakim, all that stuff. And so it's funny. I think I was like kind of immature in the sense that I was like hip hop or nothing. Like I was like exclusively into hip hop. And
Mhm.
then when I got into college, I like definitely broadened my horizons and started listening to more music and like discovering that, hip hop is like based on all this other music and there's, a lot more out there. So that's sort of my trajectory.
Did you have older siblings or how did you get introduced to like Run DMC and Beastie
Uh,
Boys and
well, actually, I think the first real like introduction I can remember is there was a kid that lived across the street from me, who he lived in New York, but I guess he had gotten in trouble, and so his family sent him down to Maryland to live in the suburbs. And so he brought tapes with him, and so like he had these tapes recorded off the radio from New York that were like Chuck Chill Out and Red Alert and like that era. And so that was like really special. Like it's more than just the music. You got the whole mixing experience, the ads in New York, people calling in and commenting and stuff. And so like that had like a whole different energy than like the real studio produced stuff that I was used to, I think.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure. Um I saw in I think one of your interviews you mentioned, being a big jazz fusion fan. Who are some of your favorite like jazz fusion or prog uh,
Um,
bands or artists?
you know what? I do love jazz fusion in Prague. I was listening to like Joe Zawinul. I don't even know if I'm
Mhm.
saying it right. Is that the right
Mhm.
way to pronounce it?
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a Lonnie Liston Smith live record here that I was listening to earlier. Um, I listen. I guess I listen to a lot of sort of weird and experimental music for sampling. So like
Mhm.
where sometimes I end up listening to stuff that I wouldn't otherwise, and that I don't even always like, but there's something interesting going on that I think I might be able to like sample from. So I think that helps sort of like expose me to different stuff too. So there might be like I have plenty of albums where there's really only one or two good songs on it, but that's kind of what makes it unique is that nobody's paying any attention because the whole album's not that great. Uh,
Mhm. Mhm. Yolani Liston Smith's actually from Richmond, and it's pretty crazy. You know,
yeah, yeah, I wish.
digging, finding his stuff, and then come to find out, oh, he lives here.
Yeah, yeah. Someone mentioned that they had a connection with him here in Richmond. I didn't even realize that. Uh,
Mhm.
have you ever seen him live?
Mm-mm. No.
Me either. That would
Yeah,
have been pretty
but you got
awesome.
the live album, so you can at least get a taste of that experience.
exactly.
Um, what influence did your family have on like your music tastes and development?
Um, a lot, really. My dad played a lot of classic rock when I was young, so like just your basic classic rock. And my mom was into Motown, so
Hmm.
like those were sort of the some of the music that I really associate with being young. Um, but I think my dad was also really into jazz, and so it's funny. I remember when I was like maybe like fifth, sixth, seventh grade. There was all this new hip hop music coming out, and my dad would always take me to the record store, and like I didn't really realize it until much later, but he was letting me have the experience with hip hop that he had with music growing up, which was like going to the record store and shopping through all the stuff and picking out your favorite things. And so like he definitely him and I have like this a very similar like kind of obsession with music. Like he collected records and just listened to a lot of different music. And it like when I think back, it kind of feels like there was a soundtrack to my youth growing up. That was through my parents' music.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and it was great to have him. Like supportive of. But I remember being like, should I get this CD or this tape, and like having all this stuff, and he'd be like, well, how about if I you know front you your allowance and you can get both or something, because he was like into it. So it was always cool.
Nice. What was your first like musical instrument or equipment?
Oh man, I was never good on traditional instruments. I taught myself to play the drums like not that long ago, like I think from doing sampling and producing and making beats. Like I figured out enough rhythm that I could just play the drums, but I was never good at guitar or piano or anything like that. But when I when I was living in New York, I'd been listening to hip hop my whole life, and I'd been DJing, and I sort of got in my mind that maybe I could make beats. And so I remember I saved up my money and I went and bought a sampler, an Akai MPC. And I remember being in line, being like, if I can make one hip hop beat that I'm really proud of, that would be like the best thing ever. Like I remember, like that was my goal. Like I didn't even know if I could do that, make one beat that I would actually like. And so
Hmm.
like I think I was sort of starting from zero, but I think of that as my first really time learning an instrument, because back then you had to sort of like understand how to use it, the technical parts and how to wire everything and connect everything. And so like I think of that as sort of learning an instrument.
Did you have keyboards or anything before the MPC?
No, no, and
Okay.
I make sample based music, and sometimes I'll play stuff on a keyboard, but it's just by ear. I can figure some stuff out that sounds good to me, but I still get very like. Uh, do you play any instruments?
No, mm-mm. I always
I,
joke when people ask that. I'm like, I played turntables.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I feel like music is a language, and for me, like learning the structure of chord progressions and how different things work, it gets very confusing to me. Like it's just a language that's not natural for me. Whereas, like you talk to some folks who can transition between different instruments and learn stuff quickly. I just never was good at that. So I think the way I look at it, which may be similar to you, is that like I'm sort of building collages musically. So if I take the drums from one place, the horns from another, bass line, all this stuff, and build something out of it, like it, I get a lot of creative like enjoyment out of that, and like so that to me that I mean that's as close as I get to like writing a song on a guitar or playing a song on the piano.
Hmm. What are you using to produce today? Is it Ableton Live?
Yeah, back when making beats on a computer was relatively new, I started with Ableton Live, and so I've been using it for like literally probably almost 20 years, if you can believe that. And I remember not too long ago I was cleaning up and I found the manual that came with the original one. So like it used to come with like a book to learn it, and now obviously everything is web based or app based. But yeah, so like and like actually at one point I think during COVID when I had a lot of time, I got so comfortable using Ableton that I got bored with it a little bit, and so I was like I forced myself to do something different, and I bought one of those little pocket operator samplers.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it was in your interview with Illiterate, maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I sort of forced myself to do that, to do something different, and so like to learn something new. And so the music I made with that wasn't like great, but when I went back to Ableton, I had like a different perspective, and so it was just a cool kind of practice. But yeah, I love Ableton Live, and I mean now it seems like the latest stuff with being able to isolate different tracks and elements. I haven't even learned any of those new tricks yet. I know
Mhm.
there's a lot.
Well, I don't even know if I know any much of the old tricks. So when you get a chance, I'd love if you could come over and give me some pointers in Ableton and
Yeah,
on the MPC. Um, So illiterate Eli Hendricks from Here RVA and Davy Jones at Style Weekly covered your family's incredible Nat King Cole record story. I
yes,
know you wanted to talk a bit about that, but I feel like they did such a great job of kind of covering it that
yeah,
I want to kind of point people to those. Are
that's a
there
good
any
idea.
updates to the story or any more insight into the recording process, like where or when it was recorded? Because it seemed kind of a lot of question marks around that part to me. Like,
Yeah,
was
I
it
don't,
both
I don't remember
before
exactly
he
what
came and played at the, is it Romany
the
room?
Romney room. Yeah,
Romney room.
yeah. So my basically the abbreviated version is that my family on my father's side emigrated here, from Eastern Europe, and opened a nightclub at one point. And Nat King Cole, before he was famous, would play at their nightclub. And so the night that my dad was born, Nat King Cole cut a track for my grandfather to congratulate him and gave him this one of one vinyl record. And so my whole childhood, I heard this story, and my family and my dad would sing the song, but there was no recording of it. And like, I just, it seemed too good to be true. Like, I just always figured it was a practical joke, or an exaggeration or something. And then lo and behold, not too long ago, after my father had passed away, I found this record, and it said Nat King Cole on it, but it was misspelled. So I was
Mm,
still kind
mhm,
of skeptical. And so I ended up
mhm.
sending it off and get transferred, and then went through a process of getting it verified and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's actually that, and I still sometimes can't believe that that's a true story, because it seems wild. And it's also funny because I collect records, and it was really essentially in my collection, or available to me for a really long time, and I never really thought about it, or did anything.
Is your family Romanian? Is that where the
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not great with geography, but yeah, that's where the Romney room is from, Romania. But
Mhm.
it's not Romania anymore. But yeah, they were I guess Jewish immigrants, and they settled in in Philadelphia at one point, and then opened the nightclub and the restaurant in DC. So
Do you think it was recorded before he was born or after, like
it would
shortly
it would have
after
been like when
maybe?
it was the night he was born, because he's talking about his birth in the song. So that helped us date it. Like basically through that process, I was like, well, this is where my dad was born. And the expert checked, and he was like, yeah, actually, Nat Cole was touring and was in DC on that time. And so that was like the first thing where, oh, it might be real. And then like they went through a whole process of checking, you know, all kinds of articles and different things to sort of put it all together. The experts did that, and they were able to do it.
Where do you think it was recorded? Was it recorded in DC, you think?
We don't know. Yeah, it definitely in DC. There's a like back then there was like uh musicians, if you recorded for a record label, like they owned you. Like there was no like cutting a single or like doing a crossover project with another artist. It came from the old movie studios, like actors.
Some of that still happens today.
Yeah, that's true.
It has
Right.
some people have been able to change the model, but yeah, there's still a lot of record companies that
That
operate
is
that way.
true. Yeah.
We talked briefly offline yesterday about a college music journal CMJ showcase that you attended. Were there any other shows that you've been to that have left like a big impression?
Oh man, I love this question. That's always a great icebreaker when I meet people, is like, what's your favorite all-time concert? I guess
Mhm.
one that I like to say is that my first concert, and I'm bringing up my dad and music again, he took me to see Herbie Hancock with Grandmaster DST, like the Rocket tour. That was like
Wow.
one of my first concerts.
Mhm.
So that was pretty cool. And there was I guess I saw Wu-Tang Clan in New York City when I lived there, and it was the show when ODB was in the police were looking for him. He was wanted, and so they had it on like MTV News and stuff that ODB was had a warrant out and was in hiding. And during the concert, he came out on stage and did like one verse and then ran off the stage, and that was like sort of a historical Wu Tang moment.
Yeah. We saw Raekwon in Richmond, and he kept asking the crowd if they wanted ice cream, and we're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he was like, "All right, I'm finally gonna do it." Like at the end of the show, and then like the lights came on, and they were like, "Oh, we gotta go." It was like,
Oh man, really? What year would that have been?
uh, maybe 2000,
Okay.
2001, maybe sometime around there, maybe.
Another good one, I saw the X-Men or the Executioners back then. They were the X-Men perform at VCU in the courtyard outside.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah, that was
remember. I think Exhibit played out there too. I want to say. Um,
such a funny time. Like that was when artists were like going to record stores to promote themselves. It's like
mhm,
such
mhm.
a different time now. Oh, another great one is that I got to see. Do you remember there was a nightclub in downtown Richmond called the Flood Zone?
Mhm, mhm.
I got
Yep.
to see Tribe Called Quest there with the Alcoholics, and at the end they brought out Busta and did Scenario. That
Wow.
was like, yeah, that was like a pretty monumental show.
Yeah, that's big. I think I DJ'd there once, but it was not
It
it was
wasn't
not a
that
classic boom bap hip hop night. It
okay.
was much more top 40
How long have you been
oriented.
DJing?
I've been DJing since '99, so like what, 25 years now, I guess.
Wow.
Uh, um, as far as like for me, like big shows, I think the Roots are like the ultimate like hip hop tour band.
Yeah.
I've seen that probably more than anybody else. Like as far as hip hop acts that I've seen, like they're the one that
Have you
I'm
been
like.
to the Roots? Their summer, what's it called? Summer picnic jam or whatever.
No, I saw them play. I think it was like summer break or spring break or something where they did a show in DC. I want to say 930 Club and brought out a whole bunch of underground and really good solid hip hop acts, and they just played everybody's music like they were the basically backing band for everybody. So
That's
similar kind of fashion, I think. I watched a bit today of I guess it's Sterling News's interview on Instagram where
yeah,
you showed
Sterling.
off your raucous flexi disc taped to the 12-inch. I really thought that was really creative. I wish I had thought of that.
Yeah, it works surprisingly well.
What are some of your like other favorite albums or bands that like you kind of keep going back to? I know you've got quite a record collection, and when I used to have lots of LPs and 12 inches, I kind of pared it down now to just mostly 45s and like very sparse in the like 12 inches. But I used to have albums that I would kind of keep going back to or groups that I would keep going back to. I'm curious to see
Yeah.
what some of yours are.
Yeah, so I have a lot of records for sure, and I mentioned like some of them I just sort of have for sampling, and then like I have all these classic hip hop albums and 12 inches I use for DJing. But like when I sit when I just listen to music, it's usually jazz, and so
Hmm.
like I have uh, a lot of Blue Note records, like just really like straight up great bop jazz records.
Hmm.
Um, One person that like Cannonball Adderley and like that kind of stuff. There's an artist named Les McCann. Do you know
Hmm.
him?
Yep.
He
Yeah.
he was in DC, and my dad turned me on to his music, and so I have a ton of Les McCann records, and that's something that I always like to go back to.
Yeah. I used to have a lot of his stuff. I liked his stuff for sure.
So do
Um,
you really pared down your like you just have 45s to DJ with mostly?
yeah, and listen to. I mean, when I get time, which is
Okay.
very rare, but
Yeah.
but back when I did have more time, I would listen to. I feel like Samande a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely listened to a lot of jazz. Outkast. I liked, especially for hip hop, like when it was just one, like a single LP. Like a lot of times later, they would press up multiple LPs for it, to have the sound louder and bigger, which was good for DJing, but for listening, it was nice to just be able to like put something on, flip the record halfway through, and then listen to
Yeah.
side two.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So I was always looking for stuff, basically almost like when you have like a tape deck in the car or CD player, like ones where there was very few that you would need to skip. Just good
Yeah.
solid listens all the way through.
What got you into 45s?
Uh, I think the size, literally running out of room in here. So
I know. I was trying to explain to someone who doesn't DJ why it's so much better to DJ with 45s. I was like, I can fit a whole night in this bag that I could just throw over my arm, as opposed to like, so many crates of records. But like, I've built like a really nice funk 45 and soul 45 collection that I can DJ with.
mhm.
And then I have hip hop 12 inches. I'm not going to start buying hip hop 45s because, if it would essentially, like, I would have to replace all like couple hundred, you know what I mean? Like it would just be I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah, I started going down that slippery slope. It's tough because a lot of them were getting pressed up. I think in Japan, and overseas. And I don't know. I really like the Dinked records, and they, a lot of them had the small hole. So
Oh yeah.
uh, I don't know, and I'm still kind of struggling as far as like mixing. I got so used to mixing and scratching with 12 inches that it's a little bit of a challenge. I know a lot of guys that have figured that out and gotten pretty nice with it, but uh, I'm not there. Like I'm just trying to like
Well, I have to
basically,
admit,
um, record drop or mix drop. Trying to
yeah,
at least transition smoothly.
I've scratched a lot with 12-inch records, and I'm pretty good at it. Not like super technical with like flares and clicks and all that stuff, but I can
Mhm.
scratch. And but I can't do it with 45s. They always skip. Maybe we both have heavy hands. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, I mean, some of it I think is the adapter too and the slip map, but I don't want to get too into the
Yeah, that's
nerdery.
too nerdy.
Do you have any upcoming collaborations, or can you give us any clues about who you might be working with?
uh, well. Actually, that's a great question because I don't know. Like, I send out beats to rappers all the time, and honestly, most of them don't get made into anything. Like the one rapper who I've really like been able to work well with is Noah O.
Hmm.
I can give him rough beats and he can turn it into a song. I mean, we work together, but he's the only person that's ever really listened to my beats and been like inspired to write to them and turn them into full-fledged songs. And I, like I said, I've done a lot of beats for rappers, and I've done a lot of remixes, using like existing acapellas and stuff. But he's really the only. I mean, and so like whenever me and Noah put out a project, all these rappers come to me because they like it, and they're like, I want to work with you. And so like, I try and make it work. And just for whatever reason, like, I think he hears my beats and can easily not easily, but can visualize what kind of song he wants to make with it. So there's no one that I seem to work as well with than Noah.
Is there any
Oh yeah,
track?
and so we have a lot. You asked what I have coming out. I don't have anything scheduled coming out soon, but we have songs in the pipeline. We'll be releasing stuff.
Is there anything in your catalog that you're like most proud of, especially with Noah, or as far as albums or tracks?
I mean, we've done 3 albums together, and I'm really proud of all three. The first one was his album called "The Rain," and we did. That was the first time we worked together. We didn't know each other that well, but he picked out beats, and we sort of collaborated on it. But he really drove that and had a vision. And then at some point, we came up with this concept for Analog Suspects, which is basically like, he likes to think of it as Guru and Premier. There's like a lot of duos of like an MC and a producer, and he really wanted to approach the project like that. And obviously, me as like a hip hop head and a DJ and producer, like that's like, you know, that's right up my alley. So you know, again, I would and also like it's always a lot of times not the beats I would have expected. Something might to me sound like something that he should rap over, but he'll pick some weird, you know, off the wall beat and really turn it into something that I think is really good. So
Yeah, Bryce put me on to Bird Park. I really like that track a lot.
yeah,
Um,
thank you.
we had it on like his Mid Atlantic Jams comp.
And yeah,
Hmm.
shout out to
Um,
Bryce.
yeah, shout out to B Rice. Beyond collaborating with other rappers, are you interested in producing for any singers or on any other genres of music?
That's a good question too. My daughter is a really good singer, and I made a beat for her last summer. And like, I was like, "You're gonna record this song," and she never did it. So that's one that may actually she'll be around soon. So maybe I'll be able to get her to do it this summer. I'll try again.
Mhm.
But no, because I really just if there was a singer that wanted to work with me or wanted to like actually I think a long time ago I worked with some artists that were not just hip hop like that. But actually, this is a funny aside. When I lived in Manhattan, um, it was like I guess it would have been around 2000, and so that at that time the really popular thing for rock bands was to have a DJ, and so like it was like Limp Bizkit and who else? Do you remember the other band that had like a anyway?
It,
So one day
it
this guy
definitely
at my
seemed a lot of bands. A lot of
yeah,
bands had
it
it.
was like a trendy thing. So this guy at my work turns to me and he goes, "Hey, I heard you're a DJ." He's like, "Do you want to scratch on my like record scratches on my song?" And I was like, but he was like a rock dude, with long hair and everything. I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Sure." I mean, what's the deal? What's the story? And he's like, "Well, uh, we're going to be recording tomorrow night at D&D Studios." And so I'm like, wait a minute, are you sure? And so I was like, yeah, I'll definitely come. I'll definitely be there. So I was like, this can't be real, but it was. So I got to go to D&D during its heyday to record scratches on a rock song in Studio B. It was not obviously not Primo Studio, but the other one. And it was just a really cool experience.
Yeah, I bet. Do you remember
Yeah.
who like ran your session or was in there?
Yeah, I can't. I wouldn't. I would know his name if I could look it up. I don't know off the top of my head. Oh, Kieran Walsh. There you go. It popped in my head, which is
Mhm.
a totally random name. But if you look on the back of like all these golden era hip hop 12 inches, he did a lot of. He's like it's like a name that you wouldn't notice, but it's there a lot.
Yeah, I recognize the name.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about your favorite like Wu-Tang album or maybe underrated or overlooked like 12-inch. I know you're a big Wu-Tang fan.
Yeah, I mean, I love Wu Tang. Um, I mean, I love like the dynamic between Ghostface and Raekwon, and like their whole like world that they created with skits and songs and everything. To me, that's like there's something really cool and unique about it. Like in a sense that like they're almost like a different, like another offshoot of Wu Tang.
Mhm.
Uh, but nothing really stands out. I think like I remember their run where Method Man came out, and then I don't remember exactly who was next, Jizza or whatever, ODB, and I just remember that run where you were like, they can't be coming out with more good music, and they just kept coming and coming and coming, and the RZA was so creative. It's like those beats now. They're older. I mean, we've heard them for so long that they don't stand out as unique. Like if you listen to the beat for Cream, like now, you've heard it a million times. But if you think back, like there was no hip hop like that. They really like just created their own lane, and yeah, they rode the wave for a long time, and they put out a lot of music over a lot of years.
I was really big on Supreme Clientele. I feel like that one was kind of an underrated
Oh,
Ghostface album.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I love that
it
album.
had some hits. It had some like, sort of popish crossover kind of success as
I,
far as
I
like
love the song
jams,
"Run"
but
with Jadakiss and Ghostface. That's one of my favorite songs. That
mhm.
might be one of those ones that I think I like it more than anyone else does. But that song gets me hype. I love that.
I think Bryce is big on that
Is
track
he?
too. Yeah. I was curious if you knew like about like Wu Syndicate and like their connection in Virginia and everything as far as like
No,
a
please
Wu-Tang
school me.
affiliate.
No,
Uh,
what's the connection?
I mean, they're from Virginia. They had a pretty good album, definitely worth checking out.
What's it
Um,
called?
Wu Syndicate. So definitely
All right, I'll check. All right,
check
that'll be
that
my
out.
homework.
Hmm. Do you think the Richmond hip hop scene is getting the national recognition it deserves?
Oh, well, definitely not. I mean, it's not really covered nationally, but like, you know, it's really cool that we have a scene at all. There's a lot. I don't mean to take away from the idea of having a bigger scene, but there's lots of small towns like Richmond or middle-sized cities or whatever that everyone's just making music in their bedroom and there is no scene. And actually when I moved down here, I like reached out on the internet to Cheats, who was running the Cheats movement, because I found his website and I was like reaching out to him about hip hop, and he's like, "Dude, just come out to one of our shows." Like he didn't want to even email with me, and so I did, and I met him in person, and excuse me, coincidentally, we became really good friends, and I worked with him on his podcast and stuff. But I was really I was really impressed that there was such a vibrant scene. I mean, or more just, I mean, it's mostly all artists. That's really the problem is there's not a real big fan base for the hip hop scene here. I mean, in my opinion, so
Mhm.
like everyone, can get their friends to come out, and then there's their followers, but it's not a big following for the hip hop. But what you have is this really close knit group of people where like, you know, there's specific groups of hip hop, different hip hop groups, but they all interact and they all support each other. I don't know, I really like that energy between the artists. I could bump into any rapper in Richmond or DJ or producer and just dap them up and shoot the shit and catch up. And um, it feels like it's very inclusive. I mean,
Mhm.
it, I think for a long time hip hop was, you know, not that it wasn't inclusive, but like it can be very clicky, and you can have your crews that don't interact with any others. It's just, I think it's really cool that we have the scene here that we do.
Is there a album or artist or release, that you feel, especially in last couple years, maybe that people should check that might again not be getting that recognition, especially nationally?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Radio B and Michael Millions. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm biased because I've gotten to work with them, and I've gotten to know them a little bit, but I just think the stuff they put out, and Nicholas F too. I think, I mean, but he wouldn't be underrated because I think he's out there, but I don't think Radio B or Michael Millions get the attention that they could, you know.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's interesting. You've had a few underground hip hop artists pop off, like Fly Anakin. Like he's a
Mhm.
really talented dude that all of a sudden was like had a much bigger stage. And while I am a fan of his, I think he's really good. I'm not sure what the difference between him and some of the other great rappers in Richmond are, and why I don't know how he was able to make that jump and gain all that success and stuff. I think it's really awesome. I think it's, I'm happy for him. I don't know how anyone else could do that, or why, what that takes, but
Yeah,
I hope those guys get the recognition that they're due.
yeah, I wanted a DJ for them. I feel
Yeah,
like Nicholas F's new album was really strong. I hope, that more people check him out.
and
Um,
he started a label with it too. I don't know any of the details, like who they're affiliated with or anything, but I hope that goes well.
yeah, Trick Dice. Shout out to Nicholas F. And I feel like I've had an argument, well, not like heavy heated argument, but just back and forth, with Bryce about. I feel like there's a lot bigger fan base out there for Nicholas F. that he's not quite reaching. Like he's definitely one of the biggest in
Yeah,
Richmond, but I feel like there's another level that, considering especially like his early collaborations or intermingling with Drake, it's like,
right.
you know, to me
I,
it seems almost like Jay-Z, right? And then you got Big L. It's like Big
yeah,
L had, rest in peace, had he still been around, like he might have seen, like it's just crazy to just think about that, dynamic in general. But like if we still had Tupac, Biggie, and Big L, like how different, like hip hop's huge, but like how much bigger would it have been if those three like major
yeah,
artists
that's
were still
true.
around? It's crazy. Um, I think in one of the interviews you mentioned kind of the importance of community. Like, how do you personally like feel like you're contributing like to a sense of community within the Richmond hip hop scene?
I mean, I hope I hope I make people feel like, like they're like I'm approachable, and like, you know, I don't I don't go out as much as I should. I mean, like if I went to every friend's performance, like, it wouldn't be that realistic to be able to go to everything, but I wish I could. Um, but I know, I hope that the people that are in the music scene here think of me as just like a nice guy that they could, hang out with. that
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm satisfied with that. I don't
Yeah,
need to be anything more than that.
yeah. I think I've gotten much more into like being a homebody, especially like with Twitch. It's like I'm not DJing at bars, I'm not DJing at clubs, I'm not going out to events or parties, and like even like upcoming shows. It's like I don't even know if I'll go out and check them out. I've seen good shows. It's
Yeah.
it's it's really got to be something special to like get me out these days.
But
No
the
offense
big
to anybody, but
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just about your lifestyle. The one
yeah.
thing that I should mention that is worth going out for is Wax Buildup, which is the party that I throw with it's me and Hip Hop Henry and Billy Crystal Fingers and DJ Nobi. Have been doing it for a while with our hosts Big Rich and Alex Black, and so it's basically like four DJs, all vinyl, and it's all genres, but it's really geared towards people who love music. And so like part of what our goal is to really attract a diverse crowd. So like we want people from every age, gender, race, like any walk of every walk of life. We want people just to like, if you love good music, to get in there and have fun and dance. And so I think we've done a really like good job of creating that vibe. And so we've got a couple events. We've got we're DJing the Thursday night before the Charged Up Fest for Noah's birthday. So me and Hip Hop Henry and a guest Ongo from New York are going to be DJing Noah's birthday party on that Thursday. So if you're available or if anybody's watching, that's going to be a really fun party. And then we'll be doing more Wax Buildup events this summer.
Where's the Charged Up like Thursday night gonna be at?
It's going to be at Get Tight Lounge, which is
Okay.
near VCU's campus.
Okay.
And I'm not sure the exact time. It's probably like 8 o'clock or something. But it's going to be a really fun party. And have you been to that place?
Yeah, I've DJ'd there.
Okay, yeah, they have that back area where it's like outdoors with a stage and stuff. I think it's gonna be a really fun party.
Heck yeah.
So we'll be playing hip hop, a lot of hip hop, but also funk and soul, and like Hip Hop Henry plays like this great like modern soul and 80s stuff. Like every time he DJs, he plays stuff I've never heard. I don't know how that's possible, but like he always has just really obscure stuff that every time I'm always looking over his shoulder like, what is that? So
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Shout out to Hip Hop Henry. Shout out to Noah O and Charged Up Fest.
Yeah.
So that's a big, hip hop festival. Would you say Large Pro is like headlining or?
No, Large Professor is going to be at the producers, like sort of. It's more of a showcase. It's not a battle. But the Saturday night, I think it's around 9 p.m. at the Richmond RVA Boombox. It's going to be basically a showcase for all the local producers who want to come out and do their thing. And there's going to be some good artists there. I'm drawing a blank on who, but there's going to be a bunch of good producers playing their beats. And I'm just going to go because I want to meet Large Professor and like, hang out. So yeah, Noah said that he might be able to connect with me and Large Pro to go record shopping on Saturday. So hopefully that'll happen. We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of connections, how did you connect with Sway, and what was it like to be on his show?
How did I connect with Sway? So the DJ on his show at that time is a guy who's no longer there, and we got connected through. I don't even really remember. It might have been through Noah or something, but basically it was their DJ. He goes by DJ Wonder. He liked my stuff. And so he played it for Sway, and Sway liked it. So, you know what? It's funny. I've gone back and listened. For those that don't know, I did the Friday Fire, which means I play all my beats and different rappers come in and freestyle over them. And I got to be honest, it holds up really well. Like if you watch it, the rappers were like going in on the beats. It was Sway was really feeling it. Heather B was really into it. It was a good show. And so I'm really proud of that.
What was it like meeting Heather B? I'm a big Heather B fan.
Me too. She's just as sweet in real life as you would hope. I've met a lot of hip hop people over the years, and some of them aren't. But she was really sweet. Sway was super nice. He was introducing me to people backstage. We were since we were at Sirius, when we were backstage, I spotted a celebrity that only a DJ nerd like me would recognize, and that was Lord Sear was backstage, and I recognized him and dapped him up and stuff. So it was a lot. It was really cool. It's funny to appear on Sirius, it got rescheduled a couple times. So by the time I actually was in the studio to do it, I wasn't even sure if I might get bumped or if they might have to change the schedule or something. So it wasn't until like the on air light came on that I was like really sure it was even going to happen. But it was
Mhm.
really exciting.
I heard you never DJ'd a wedding. Why is that?
um, because that's too much pressure. I want to play what I want to play, and like if you're a wedding DJ, your job is to like entertain everyone. Like I have nothing against it. I just don't think I would be good at it because I would be like, oh, they would really love to hear this obscure Brazilian, jazz fusion number, and they're like, we want to do the electric slide. I'm like, I didn't bring that on vinyl. So anyway, that's how I would imagine me DJing a wedding to go. Although there's a couple exceptions. Like a good friend asked me if I would like do a set at his wedding reception, and I said yes, but that never happened. And then this was kind of funny too. When my wife and I got married, I made the mix for the wedding reception and recorded it, and then had the wedding DJ play it. So like he did all the like the dance stuff and announcing and everything. And then when we actually hit the dance floor, I had my mix to play.
How did that go over?
It went well, I think. I got to play what I wanted, but everyone danced and it was good.
Nice. Yeah, I think in my experience, I've been lucky to have get booked for weddings where they kind of know what I do and are
Yeah,
pretty open to letting me kind of do my thing. But I always try and tell anybody that hasn't done one, like the focus should be them, the
yeah,
couple and their friends or their family. Like, take it off of yourself. Like, take whatever you like, throw it out the window. Like,
right.
just focus on what they want, what they like,
Right. Your
and
job is
then
to hit the play button.
when you it can be it can be mixed well, and you
That's
can
true.
definitely work on reading the crowd and all that, but like you know on the way
You're working
home
from you're working
on
from
the
their playlist.
on the way home and when you get home, like that's the time to like throw on the Tribe and the Wu-Tang and all that stuff, or jazz
Yeah,
and funk deep cuts and stuff.
yeah.
Um so obviously not a wedding, but like what would your ideal or like dream gig be?
Oh man. I love I mean, some of the wax buildup parties we've thrown have sort of hit that ultimate DJ high where you're playing, music you love, and everyone in the room is just like lit up and electrified with it.
Hmm.
Um, and so, like, as a DJ, I guess you're nodding. I mean, that whether it's a small room or a big stadium, like just to get that kind of connection with the audience, I think is the best. So to answer your question is, if I'm playing my favorite music and I can get everyone fired up like that, I think that's like the ideal for me. Is
Yeah.
there a specific place that you've always wanted to DJ, like a locale or something?
mm, I don't know. Definitely anywhere out of state or out of the country would be, great. I mean, I've done some stuff out of state, but um, there's lots more out there. I think when I go to the beach with my family, I'm always like, man, I wish I had like a gig like to kind of like tie into this and like sort of
Well,
pay for the
actually,
trip too.
I was going to say, yeah, if you book a couple of them, you can write it off
Right. But
going on a work trip to the beach.
yeah, I think, just having that connection is definitely important, whether it's a small or big crowd.
Yeah.
At, and you guys did wax build up out in Virginia Beach too, right? Was that this year or last year? Or?
It was last year, and I wasn't there that night, but the other guys went and did it at I forget the name of the club, yeah, they had a really good experience out there. There's a
Are
there's
you
a group of DJs out there that they're connected with.
are you doing any more this year out there,
Oh,
or will
well,
you be able
I
to
don't
make
know.
it to the next
That's a
one?
good question. I mean, like it feels like with wax buildup, we had a ton of momentum going into COVID, and then everything got shut down. And then coming out, it's been so sort of staggered. We haven't really got our stride again yet, but we will. So I think there's we've tried a bunch of different venues, we've tried different things. I think it's kind of fun to perform at different places. So hopefully, like we just did the Veil outside, which was nice. I'd love to be outside when the weather's nice, and then I don't know where we'll be performing this summer, but maybe a
Yeah,
festival or something.
that's how I feel with the beach, and like I've been wanting to like get into like doing like park jams, really open, family friendly, free.
Yeah,
But Parks and Recs they just seem very too much red tape, you know.
Let's talk about offline if we throw a park jam, man. That would be epic.
Yeah, I mean, if you got connections at Parks and Rec, let me know. What are your long-term goals for yourself as a DJ and producer?
That's a great question, and I don't even know what the answer is. I mean, I know this is gonna sound weird, but like I said, like that first time when I just said I just want to be able to make one beat, like that, like I don't really even think of it in terms of longevity. Like I'll go, I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I made that, and then like throughout this artistic career, I say career, but it's more just like a I don't know, more of like a path I'm traveling, but
Mhm.
like um
Passion.
yeah, I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. Now I just have the like ability to I can use the tools to create what I want to make, which is just really awesome. So it's just a matter of like painting with music and like exploring and doing stuff. So I mean, my goal for a long time was to put out an instrumental album, and like I'm looking over my shoulder because I've had a few things pressed on vinyl. I mean, that was like a huge accomplishment too. Like for me, that felt like sort of cementing, just for me personally, a certain level of accomplishment. But in the future, I really don't know. I would love to be able to keep doing the wax build-up parties and working with Noah. And obviously, I'd love to work with other artists. I'm always open to that. But if I can just keep doing what I'm doing, I'd be really happy. How about
Have
you?
you?
Do you have any specific goals like that?
Oh boy. No.
Oh, okay, all right.
Just to keep making good music, and I still feel like I'm chasing that, trying to achieve the true sound that I'm looking for. I'm really like trying to
Honing it.
make the beats better and the music better, and really be proud of what I'm creating.
Yeah.
Um, Are there any producers that you look at for inspiration, continuously, or especially I'm curious about Richmond, or Virginia or DC, but it could be New York or, outside of the
Um,
country too.
so in terms of like current people, I mean, the people in Richmond, just off the top of my head, would be like Fan Ran and like some of the Gritty City stuff that they've done is really good. Also, like more like the hip hop stuff I make is real like boom bapish. So a lot of the more contemporary stuff that's like more bouncy, faster trap beats and stuff like that. I like a lot of that stuff. I just don't make it. So like
Mhm.
I appreciate that stuff too in terms of like what other artists in Richmond I like and stuff. But um, the people that inspire me and the most creatively are like the like foundation guys, the premiers and P Rocks and RZA and and there's that second wave of producers like DJ Shadow and DJ Crush and like like I just really like anything sample based just really like speaks to me and like really I just love the idea of recycling sounds and turning something, and the creative application of it. So like when I think of producers that I really appreciate, like so like I've been thinking a lot about the beat miners, like and the beat nuts, even though their sounds are very different, like those are two like their production I loved even way before I made beats, before I DJ'd. Like there's something about their music that really speaks to me, and so both of them like I've tried to I've learned from their production styles and applied it differently. Like and to me that's part of what's being creative is like I might use a specific technique to chop something up here that that I saw someone else do or that I've admired, and then for a different thing I might take a totally different approach. So like as much as I'm sampling all this different music in a way I'm sampling the ideas of all the DJs and producers that inspire me. The drums might be inspired by Primo, but this something else might be inspired by someone else. So like it's funny, but I mean, for a long time, people were dismissive of hip hop for sampling, because they would say that it was like ripping off other music and that it was not original. But like the more you learn about music, the more you understand that like all music is derivative of what came before it. and rock musicians know that and they admit it. You know, R&B, soul, jazz, it's all built on iterations of you know the very first basic things. So to me, like the idea of pulling elements from different places and creating something new, like I think that's the coolest.
Yeah, I think what was it and Sonic talking all that jazz. We're talking about like James Brown's career was like on a down slope, and then all the hip hop artists started sampling him and like kind of revived him.
Yeah, you're
Aerosmith,
right.
I think, was like on a down,
Yeah,
slide, and Run DMC Walk This Way really like helped them like take back off. So,
you're right,
um,
and those are great examples. I think, like, you know, some of us like you know see it that way, and I think a lot of people were just really dismissive for a long time. There's like a this sort of snobby um, gatekeeping of like some people that because they understand music theory and because they can write music and you know and have like a more intellectual understanding of music, were very dismissive of hip hop for being sample based, but also excuse me, also rapping. I mean, they would dismiss rappers as like, oh, they're just you know rhyming. There's not you know, but I think it's pretty easy to say that hip hop has proven its place in the world of music.
for sure. So as far as like Premier and Pete Rock, or maybe the Beat Miners, are there any again like I keep wanting to go back to like underrated or overlooked gems because that's what I'm always looking for. Like, everybody kind of knows, the classics, but sometimes there's uh, album only cuts on those classics that keep going back to or like
Yeah,
revisit, and you're like, wow, like that's crazy. Like, because like I think Pete Rock and CL Smooth's like first EP, you can keep going back to that and hearing kind of new things and stuff. And
yeah,
Premiere,
that's
like it's interesting to hear his early work, and then when he was really like in his prime, he's doing stuff for all different people, but just crazy samples and sounds and really thick.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I'm trying to think. There's I think that's one of the reasons I really love live jazz albums, is because like there's so much in the like ambient noise and the improvisation that jazz artists do, and the even just the banter of like a pianist yelling out, you know, on three or whatever, you know, like the
Mhm.
interaction of the artist. I just think that's really cool. I have to. I'm not good off the top of my head. I'll send you some recommendations for jazz exploration.
Yeah, I think Cannonball Adderley was a good example because he had that was it Live at the Breadbasket maybe album, like the Beatnuts sampled, and there's
There's
interlude.
one he did one I think at the Lighthouse, and well he did a
Mhm.
bunch of live albums.
Yeah, but there's like interludes and talking and chatter, and
Yeah,
I think I was reading it was on Medium, but the interview where you were sort of talking about background noise and
yeah,
live recording or sampling like live albums or songs and stuff. Thought that was
yeah.
interesting. Have you put out? I know you put out like beat or instrumental like albums. Have any been on cassette, like true cassette?
We put out the Rain on cassette. So the stuff with Noah. I think I don't know. I don't know if no. I've never put out a proper beat tape. I guess. Although that's the concept for the Maxell tapes. I did three of these beat albums or beat tapes, and the artwork looks like a cassette tape, but I never actually made press tapes up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, like I think you'd do well to make
make some
an
tapes.
actual, yeah, maybe the next volume on an actual cassette tape, like beat
Yeah,
tape.
yeah. I had the next volume done, and then I ended up, excuse me, sending out a bunch of those beats to rappers, and so then I held off on it. So I have a lot of stuff. I have to just kind of get organized, and I'll put out another one soon.
And I'm like I said, I'm big on the 45s, so 40
Yeah,
45s too. Those are always they're a hot commodity now, but again, I just like the size, and also I think for the most part they're pretty affordable.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah,
Prices
the
on all
one,
records seem to be going up, but
yeah,
45s, it's going to be two songs, maybe four if they're super short at the end of the day. So
right.
record
Yeah, that would be.
companies and stores, please stop gouging the prices.
Yeah, I had an idea for a series of 45s where like each side would have just a one beat by a different producer, so that like they were both. It was like two producers would just make a 145 together, but that never materialized. So maybe I should get back to that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again. That's about all the time I have and all the questions I had. Did you have anything else you wanted to say or mention? I know we talked about Instagram's like your main
Yeah,
social
no,
media
I would
outlet.
love for people to follow me on Instagram. I'm really into photography, so I'm sharing a lot of that on Instagram, and but I'm also putting music stuff together. I make weird sort of psychedelic videos to my beats sometimes. I put those on there. That started off because all my stuff was getting pulled down because I was using videos off of YouTube.
Mhm.
So then I had to distort them, and then once I distorted them, I liked that and sort of made these like kind of weird, melty, psychedelic visuals to go with some of the music. So
Yeah, I like that. Word. So definitely check out DJ Mentos. Follow him on Instagram. Check him out at Charged Up Fest with Hip Hop Henry on the Thursday night Noah O birthday party. And keep listening out for more beats and more work with Noah O and the Analog Suspects. Appreciate it, Mentos.
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Peace.